Hey everyone, Dave here. Got my 2010 Q5 back in the garage. I've got 4 new tires I'm having installed on the vehicle. I'm not leaving the car with anybody, so I took all the 4 wheels off. I brought the 4 wheels and the 4 brand new tires down to the shop, have them mount and balance them, and I'll bring them back and I'll install them on the car just to try to limit anybody's opportunity to break anything on me. So that's kind of the way I'm doing it. But also, while I'm having this done, I noticed a clunk in the right front corner of the car. So here's a good time to take a little inspection and see if we can figure out what's clunking down there. So let's go over to the right front corner and take a peek. Okay, so here I am at the right front, and whenever I hear clunks like I'm hearing, first thing I'm suspicious of is a worn ball joint. Develops a little bit of play, and then when you hit a bump, you can actually feel that play reverberating through the whole car. I mean, this car is silent. When everything's nice and tight, you don't hear anything. Now I hit a little bump and I can feel some kind of little clunking over here in the right front. It's very faint, but you know, I'm attuned to this vehicle, so I hear it. And you know, this thing has 170,000 miles on it now, so it's probably due to have something get worn out and need replacing. So I'm taking my pry bar around and I'm just putting some force on all the ball joints. You know, it could be an outer tie rod, could be a lower ball joint. There's 2 of them on this one. There's a couple of upper ball joints. And I think I found the problem. And the problem is this lower ball joint right here. And I realize this because I take my pry bar, and if I go underneath the steering arm and over top of the front lower control arm, I can push down on the control arm, and I'm seeing some play between the bottom of the spindle and the front control arm. There's some play in there. So if I pry down on it, there's my play right there, and this is the clunking that I'm hearing when I hit a bump at speed. So let me give you another angle so you can better see the movement that I see. I wanted to show you this so you could see how I'm prying on it. So I'm prying under the steering arm and on top of the control arm. So I'm pushing down on this control arm. And you got to use some kind of pry bar. You can't just grab that with your hand and think you're going to, you know, it's not that loose because there's still spring tension. And, you know, this whole thing is hanging on it. So let me show you another angle of this specific area that I'm looking at, and you can see the movement. Okay, so here's the ball joint that's worn and loose. It has play in it, and you'll notice that the front control arm and the spindle, these 2 parts, should be kind of locked together, but you'll see some movement when I pry on it. So there you go. I mean, there's the movement right there, and it's difficult without a camera on a tripod. I mean, you try to do this, you're pulling on the pry bar, your head's moving. The movement on this is very slight, so it can be hard to see, but I set my camera on a tripod, it's stationary, it's not budging, and then I can play the tape back and I can clearly see all kinds of play in here. So this ball joint is worn, needs to be replaced. And I'm not sure if this whole control arm has to be replaced yet, or if this ball joint can be removed and just replace the outer ball joint. So we'll have to investigate that. But there's my problem, there's my clunking. This front control arm outer ball joint. So I went online to look up the parts for this job. I wasn't sure what might be required. I didn't know if I was going to have to order a whole control arm. Apparently, great news. The ball joint on these vehicles can be replaced independent of the control arm and the spindle, so that's good news. It looks pretty cut and dry. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. So I went ahead and ordered the ball joint. And you know, if you've got the same issue and you've got a worn ball joint, I'm going to shoot another video showing how I replace it. I will link that to this video. So keep an eye out for it. And we will see you back when I have the new ball joint.